Can you use a 9-year-old Mac Pro in 2018? And does it perform to expectations? I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. So before I begin, if you want to join the Techno Eclipse community, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, crush that comments button, annihilate the share button, and I don't know. I always come up with something funny, but I'm running out of funny things to say. So how can you join the Techno Eclipse community? Say something funny. So 2009 Mac Pro is one of the Mac Pros that you can flash the EFI from a 4,1 to a 5,1, and that will then give it the performance, theoretically, of a 5,1, and when you flash the EFI from the 4,1 to the 5,1, it'll then allow you to actually use Westmere CPUs and upgrade all the way up to macOS Mojave. What you do when you flash the EFI is essentially make the 4,1 Mac Pro believe it's a 5,1 Mac Pro, and Apple thinks it's a 5,1 Mac Pro, and then it operates like a 5,1 Mac Pro. The one problem with the 4,1 Mac Pro is upgrading. The CPUs are not socketed. They are delidded Xeon CPUs that just sit in the socket, and that's it. There's no retention band. The actual force of the heatsink is what holds the CPU in place. So to upgrade, it's relatively easy. You just sort of untwist the heat sinks, pop the new CPU in. You got to move the fan header down and sort of shove that into the socket. And when you do that, it's pretty much done. It's not too difficult, but you got to make sure it's not squeezed on too tight or too soft, or else you'll damage the socket. Upgrading is certainly not as easy as upgrading to a 5,1, a 2010, or 2012 Mac Pro. So why should you do this? Well, I upgraded this computer to two X5690s. Funny story, I actually ordered X5675s for $65 because that's a way better price performance, but they sent me X5690s, and I'm not complaining. X5690s are like $150, whereas the X5675s are only about $65. I did get kind of lucky there. So I threw those X5690s in there, ran some benchmarks, and the scores were a little bit disappointing. I think part of the problem is the RAM speed. So on Geekbench, I got around 18,000 on the multi-core side with X5690s, which is low. It should be getting around 23,000. And then I also was only getting 2,700 on the single-core performance. Again, a little bit low. Still pretty high for a machine from 2009. And then upgrading the graphics card was pretty simple. I had an RX 570 laying around, and that's natively supported by macOS, so you just have to plug and play. And when you do that, make sure you buy one of those mini 6-pin to 6-pin adapters, or else you won't be able to power your graphics card. Or if your graphics card needs 8 pins, get a mini 6-pin to 6-pin, and then a 6-pin to 8-pin adapter. And also, when you're doing this, remember wattage. So you can pull 150 watts each from the PCIe mini 6-pin slots, and then from the motherboard it can pull 75 watts. So you have 375 watts of theoretical power, although that's very max usage. I wouldn't expect to get 375 watts every single time. So how does this thing perform? Well, I was editing 4K video on it, and it was working fine in the timeline. I had to reduce the resolution, but it was working fine. It was doable. But then I exported it, and exporting the film took forever. It was a 4K video. It was exporting to be about 1 gigabyte in size on Premiere Pro, and it took a little over an hour. An hour to export a film that was 4K. I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I'm not sure if I was doing something wrong, if the CPUs aren't even placed in there properly, but it's reading the two CPUs. It might have something to do with the RAM. I'm not exactly sure, but it was really slow. Encoding the video took forever. Something to keep in mind. You can edit 4K video, but exporting it is going to take forever. So who is this computer good for? A lot of people, actually. This is good for people like myself. I consider myself a PC guy in a Mac user's body. I love tinkering with stuff, and I love just to try to make stuff a little bit better, but Macs don't allow you to do that, but I like Mac OS better. So I consider myself a PC user in a Mac user's body. So it's really good for people like that who just want to tinker, want to make a Mac go a little bit further. It's for content creators. It's not for gamers. It's for everyday users, but also content creators. The reason I have a tough time recommending it for everyday users is because if you just want to check email, or you just want to go on the web and watch some YouTube videos, just get like a 2012 or 2014 Mac Mini, because those will be able to do everything you need to do and use up way less power. The 2009 Mac Pro is running 2 Xeon processors with a 900 watt power supply inside of there, and I can't really suggest it just for Joe Schmo who just wants to have it just to have it because they want to have Mac OS. Just get a Mac Mini. But this is a really good computer for content creators, not just video editors. That also includes people who might be using CAD, Xcode, or even music production. The reason it's so good for those guys is because you can put in up to 64 gigabytes of ECC memory, and it's awful cheap to put that in there because businesses offload ECC memory by the truckloads, so the prices are pretty cheap on ECC RAM. I'll leave links down below. Obviously, graphics card upgrades really easy. Buy a 580 or an RX 480. 570, 470, those all have Metal support, and Apple macOS really loves Metal, so any task will use Metal to actually enhance a lot of the things that it does. At the end of the day, it's the best computer Apple ever made, in my opinion. Hopefully they go back to a similar design in the future, but who knows? It's Apple. If you liked the video, hit subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Scott with Techno Eclipse. Peace out.